Welcome back to Maxi Pro. How are you doing? What's up? Okay, let's pop right into it. Week 3. In yesterday's video, we discussed designing the pro version of yourself. The video before that, we picked your purpose. And in today's video, we are going to talk about the movie theater of life. And I'm really excited for this video. This is probably my favorite topic in week 3 and probably just one of the most fascinating topics across all of Maxi Pro. I'm really excited to share this with you and the techniques that follow. So we'll be talking about life as a movie theater, designing characters and scenes, and then entering the theater. It's pretty cool. So here's a theater, and life is much like this theater. Now, the thing about life, however, is that a lot of people don't realize that they are in a theater, and they're actually not only, in movies going on in life itself, but they don't realize that they can step out of that movie and go into a different movie theater or a different, what do you even call it? Like a different room within the movie theater to watch a different movie. You can literally step out of the screen you're in, out of the scene you're in, and walk out and find a movie that you like. You can be on this screen here in a particular movie. And then, of course, you wake up, you have your awakening to who you are, truly where you are and what you're doing, your enlightenment, and then you can just walk out. And we're going to be talking about how to do that. So that's pretty much it for the first bullet point. Life is a movie theater. Pretty simple. It's just the beginning of an analogy that I hope provides you some use. And what I'd like you to think about even further is designing your character. And this is a film roll, an old film roll. So back in the old days, they would take the way pictures would be made, and by picture I mean motion pictures, so movies, is they would take the cameras, the way they work, they're different than they are now. They still work this way if you're shooting on film, like a Super 8. But what's happening is they are taking a lot of pictures consecutively. So 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second, you may have heard, means they're literally taking 24 individual frames per second. And what happens is they wrap them, this is like, you would see, so 24 of these in a second, and it's kind of like a flip book, okay? And that's how a film works, right? And that makes up the entire film reel, which is this thing here, and they would, put it in their projector, and it would play the movie. And then you would watch it, and that would be it. And so in thinking about this analogy, you have to understand that your life is much like this film reel, okay? And there's a limited amount of film in the reel because, humans, we aren't immortal yet. Who knows what the advent of science and technology is going to bring, but, for now, we really are not immortal. And so what I would encourage you to do is just to consider thinking about your life as if it is this finite film reel, okay? And each frame, each scene can be paused, and that's what we're going to be talking about here. And you can see not only yourself, but everything going on around you in the scene, okay? But before we talk about the scene, I'd like to talk about you as your character and designing your character. Now, in the last video lesson, we talked about designing your identity, the pro version of yourself. And this, for example, is me. So if I am to zoom out of my life right now as I'm recording this, I see myself pretty much doing this, except my desk is faced the other way as I record this. And, I'm in pretty good shape. I am sleeping pretty well. I'm learning from my mentor, Luke, at this point, and I'm being a leader, not a follower. And, I'm filling my brain with superfoods. And this is just a scene that if I paused my life right now, objectively speaking, I would see myself and the character that I am in this frame. And so, in the last video, you learned about kind of designing the pro version of yourself. And now I just want to kind of shift your awareness to realizing that you're really like creating a character in a movie. And beyond that, you're also calling attention to creating characters that you want to associate within your movie. Who are the friends that you're surrounded with? Who are the high status men and women in your life? Who are the the women that you want to be friends with? Who are the women that you want to be attracting? Who are the men you want to be attracting? Okay? And when thinking about designing your character, again, it's really important to keep our North Star goals, our key results in mind. We want to consider, what does our character actually look like? Okay, and you may have done some work on this yesterday, but this is just a further way of thinking about it. Like, imagine you were starting from scratch and you were actually writing a movie for a film. You'd want to think about, what does your character look like? What do they dress like? Of course, keeping in mind your North Star goals. How does the character carry themselves? Okay? And how does the character walk? How does the character talk? Do they have a deep voice? Do they have a loud voice? How does the character be perceived by other people? How do other people respond to the character? Now, I just brought up Whitney Cummings. She's a female comedian. Or she's just a comedian. I don't know why I said female. She's a comedian. She's obviously female. And you might see yourself objectively from a third-person perspective, if you want to become a comedian, like this. You see the way she carries herself. She's got this witty confidence about her. She's got a certain style, a certain classy style, and that's how she has designed herself. And you want to do the same thing with yourself. Now we'd like to talk about designing scenes, and what we're going to be doing in this lesson is combining our scenes and characters so that we ultimately have one coherent scene in the movie, such that if we paused it, we would see it. And what you see here is a 10-year scene. So for me, in 10 years, I see myself speaking in front of stadiums. I see myself, on with some type of team. So that's Bobby Axelrod, I think is his name is, from Billions. And this is the Dream Team. So I see myself with a bunch of A players surrounding me, not necessarily basketball players, but A players, the best in the world, helping to build my movement and my team. And, I see myself owning properties around the world, potentially flying in jets between those properties. I think that would be fun. I'd like to do that in 10 years. And I still see myself in lots of nature. Okay, you might notice I like properties that have views of nature. And that's a 10-year scene. However, what I'd recommend that you do is really focus on creating a scene for the next 6 months. So like in 6 months, what does your life look like? If you had to paint a picture, what would it look like? And this scene, we're going to break it down, has certain qualities. Of course, you should keep in mind your North Star goals, the key results that you have in mind for your life. It should also be, again, within 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, or really as many years as you want. You can have multiple different scenes in your movie. Because remember, on the film reel, there's so many different points. There's like different parts of your life. And you can kind of go and map them out based on where you want to be. And then the scene should also mean that other key things have happened. Okay, so for example, if you end up in a scene where you see yourself in Indonesia, that might mean that you've saved up a certain amount of money to go to Indonesia or Bali. This is in Bali in the rice fields. Very popular destination to visit, very beautiful. But this also means that you have allowed time in your schedule or planned ahead, okay? So the scene should mean that other things have happened, okay? Especially if you're thinking more long-term. Like let's say you have a scene of you with, your husband or wife living in a house in, let's say, Los Angeles, and the scene could be, and I recommend the scene be kind of like a short snippet, so maybe like 30 seconds to 2 minutes, so that you can really visualize this scene from the third-person perspective on a consistent basis. And you visualize this scene as if you're kind of sitting in a theater and watching yourself from behind, so this would be you, walking around in this scene. What happens? So maybe for this scene, or let's finish the scene before. So you're in Los Angeles, right? You wake up, you get out of bed, your husband or wife is sitting out on the balcony looking over the ocean, reading a Kindle, and you maybe go kiss on the cheek, and then you go outside to your Ferrari and you go driving off into town to your office. That constitutes a lot of things have happened, and that might be a 5-year labeled scene in the film reel of your life, but it also could be Well, yeah, it could be 5 years, could be 10 years, whatever you envision. Now, for this one, you might want to think of something else that might happen in this scene. It's not just a still frame. I think, it's almost like a live photo on Instagram. Like, what things are happening that you can visualize over and over from a third-person perspective, and closing your eyes and seeing yourself in this situation. Okay, that's pretty much the key. For me, this is me in Indonesia, so in Bali. I would visualize myself in Bali from a third-person perspective, and lo and behold, I got there. It's not that hard to go to Bali. Perhaps, again, you visualize yourself with some beautiful apartment years down the line. It's important, though, that you picture yourself sitting in a seat like this and just seeing yourself there. There's me in a very nice house, that same villa. Perhaps you want to visualize yourself, a year down the line in, I believe this is JP Morgan in New York, and this is their office, so you visualize yourself working there, okay? Or maybe you visualize yourself holding up a trophy in, some sports event, whether it's golf or hockey, or, whatever sport that you dream of being very good at. And, if one thing I'd like to point out is, just for giving you ideas, let's say you are starting an e-commerce business. Maybe part of the vision, you see yourself pick out your phone and open up your Shopify, and you have, let's say $10,000 in sales for the entire day. And that's part of your 6-month visualization. So now we talked about designing characters and scenes, life as a movie. Now I want to go more in depth about entering the theater and really waking up to the reality that you're in right now. You are literally in a theater. Life is a movie. Remember, we do this all the time, right? And there's a reason we do this, and it's because when we connect to the observer role, it opens us to the reminder that life is a theater from which we can make an identity pivot and choose to be in whatever film we want. So remember, internal identity pivots are when we pretty much wake up in reality. We ask ourselves, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? And if we are identified with the old version of ourselves, well, then we want to pivot. If we're in a movie that we don't like seeing and we're acting as a character that's bringing us down a downward spiral, then we want to make an internal pivot, look at our master vision and see what types of things would my character be doing. And then you go ahead and take those actions. So for example, when I wake up in the morning and I review my master vision, I'm looking at my schedule and I'm seeing the types of things I would do during the day. This propels me forward. With my work, I wake up, I look at myself from a third-person perspective. I ask myself immediately when I wake up, who am I, where am I, and what am I doing? And I have a choice. It really is a choice. You can, be the older version of yourself that is achieving the results that you aren't happy with, or you can be the new version of yourself, and you can take those actions. Same thing with working out. Before you work out, wake up. Set reminders in your phone to do this. This was an assignment last week. Asking yourself, who am I, where am I, what am I doing? Now this is a reminder to check in on your master vision and to choose the character that you want to become and to visualize yourself, literally visualize for 1 to 2 minutes. Close your eyes and do this. In the scene, that means you have already accomplished everything that you want. So to enter the theater, you can do it when you wake up, before work, during work, before working out, before socializing, before a sales call, before going on an important date with someone you find attractive. How do you envision that date going? Don't be attached to any of these outcomes, but how do you visualize yourself acting and behaving? Oh, before sales calls again. And before any type of competition or anything important or meaningful to you. Now, of course, this can be applied to really any aspect of your life that you want to be proficient or very good at. And one last point I want to make is you don't have to necessarily be a mega multimillionaire to access any scene you want. The truth is that with experiences in life, you can maneuver your way into pretty much any experience you want, I would say within a month. Remember the free private jet equation where I said, yeah, sure, you can become an influencer, make 300 videos over the course of 2 years, and then, build a merch line and then buy a private jet membership, and then all of a sudden you get an offer to go on a private jet, or like that stuff, that's a lot of effort. Or you could just make friends with someone who has a private jet and rides private jets often, and then you get on the private jet because they invite you. Same thing here. It's like if you want to ride on yachts with someone, who has yacht parties, like you don't have to become a multi-millionaire. There's so many ways you can get invited to yacht parties. You can become a videographer and become, a billionaire's videographer person. You can literally get a job as a yacht cleaning staff. I actually had a friend who did this for about 6 months. He worked on a yacht in St. Thomas. His name's Marcus. And he got to live this luxurious lifestyle. I mean, the work isn't that difficult as someone who's working on deck. There's ways you can do this. There's so many creative ways you can do this. You can just become friends, easy. Just become friends with someone who rides yachts often. Locate where they are. We'll talk about that a lot more in the social life week. But that's it for today's video. Tomorrow is extremely, extremely essential. I'm really excited to share tomorrow's video with you, but I hope you enjoyed today's. And with that, I conclude this video, and have a great rest of your day. Peace. Hey, what's up, brother? Hopefully you are enjoying these free resources that I'm putting out for you. Now, if you got to the end of this video and you had the patience and the discipline to finish something to completion, then you might be a good fit for my mastermind. I am building a small community of only 50 investors, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are looking to level up in their mindset, their fitness, their social circle, their social media brand, and business. You might be a good fit. If you'd be interested in joining that, or applying to it at least, it's invite only, then direct message me the word mastermind on Instagram at Arlen, that's ARLIN. Direct message me the word mastermind to see if you are a good fit. I'll send you a link. You'll be sent to this page. You will book a time, and then you will answer the survey questions. Okay, and make sure you answer these questions in sufficient detail, because we will cancel if you don't put in effort and you aren't serious about this. Again, we're only accepting hitters, so if that's you, send me a message.